Your Excellencies, friends and family of Max van der Stoel, members of the Association for Historical Dialogue and Research, Mr. Wielatsen, Madam Tors, it is a great and honorable occasion for me to present today the seventh Max van der Stoel Award. And before I do this, I'd like to thank, first of all, the chairperson of this year's jury, a very special person, Astrid Tors, whose tenure as the High Commissioner for National Minorities ended in August. Astrid, thank you for everything you've done. We haven't been able to do this, but I want to do it publicly. You've done to fulfill your mandate over the past 3 years. You've done this in a magnificent way in a very, very complex period. So my applause to you. Now, let me say a few things about that, because with tensions between and within OSCE societies on the rise, these are very trying times for this organization. Security and cooperation in Europe are as urgent as ever. We just have to look around us every day. But sadly, they have become slightly more elusive. When people are under great pressure, the hardest thing to do is maintain a dialogue and keep talking to one another as equals. I find it impossible to overstate the OSCE's value as an impartial forum, and we don't have many, where problems can be discussed openly, especially before they escalate. And that is where Max van der Stoel inspired us all. He did something that was really conflict prevention. That's why you often didn't hear about it. Because if you prevent something, then obviously you don't hear about it. And he was a great statesman who inspired us all, who inspired me also personally. And he started, I think, to frame the work of the H&M in a way that was decisive. And as you just saw in one of the movies, education in that was key. So I'm sure that he would have been very happy to be here today. The work of the High Commissioner, as well as the other OSCE autonomous institutions, let me underline the word autonomous, is of the utmost importance in preventing conflict. The office mandate and autonomy of the High Commissioner can count on the Netherlands' full support. It is vital that the members of the OSCE reach consensus on a new qualified High Commissioner, and sooner rather than later. The High Commissioner's job is like a group photographers, always trying to get, where are they, by the way? There they are. Always trying to get the right people together at exactly the right time. A photographer must always be alert to details that could ruin a picture unless they are put right. And the High Commissioner knows that the denial of equal rights and equal protection to minorities is often a forerunner of widespread violence and oppression. And like a photographer, the High Commissioner and her staff always work behind the scenes, never taking center stage. Much of their work, your work, remains unseen. And as any photographer will attest, too much exposure can destroy months and even years of efforts. Quiet and persistent diplomacy of the kind that Max van der Stoel perfected is key. Ladies and gentlemen, fortunately the High Commissioner has no monopoly of diligence and modesty. As the film we just saw demonstrates, this year's winner of the Max van der Stoel Award possesses those two virtues in abundance. From the moment travel restrictions between the two parts of Cyprus were relaxed 13 years ago, the Association for Historical Dialogue and Research has quietly worked to foster mutual respect and understanding. Quietly, but as we just saw in the movie, with a lot of courage. Words and narratives matter, you just mentioned in the movie. They matter a lot. History cannot be denied, nor must it be forgotten. But its misuse can become an obstacle to normal relations between peoples, and we just saw some of the examples. Its distortion can separate majority and minority communities. Its manipulation can divide societies that should be united. And mutual understanding cannot be imposed or declared. Take the association's educational project, which interests me a lot. They are not meant to teach one specific version of Cypriots' history. Rather, they are meant to increase historical awareness and stimulate critical thinking. And if you see these young people looking at the pictures of the churches and the mosques and the different populations, I was really stimulated, because in fact it helps to increase historical awareness and stimulate critical thinking. They show how different perspectives on shared history can coexist, without one perspective being favored over another. And I was very impressed you were talking about missing persons as well. That must have been a very difficult one. And I think it's very courageous. This is one of the missing discussions we often have in the world. We have now a new organization also here in The Hague that works specifically on this. I think they can be inspired for the work that you are doing. Now, in the end, politicians cannot make Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots live in harmony. Politicians cannot make people trust each other and build a society together. That will be up to Turkish and Greek Cypriots themselves. The success of the Association for Historical Dialogue and Research demonstrates the power that communities themselves have to shape their relations, and it serves as a shining example to other countries where relations between communities are strained. And I liked some of the words you were using in the film: share spaces, borders as bridges. Something we really need in the world right now. The current Cypriot-led talks are reason to be hopeful about reunification. If and when reunification occurs, the need for mutual understanding will become even greater. As more and more Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots meet each other, occasions for tension and conflict will possibly multiply. In that sense, the toughest challenge lies ahead. And this award is not just meant to recognize past achievements. It also serves to encourage future efforts. The work of today's award winners is helping to advance the indispensable process of reconciliation in your beautiful island. May it do so for many years to come. I'd like now to ask the two co-presidents of the Association for Historical Dialogue and Research to join me, Kyriakos Pachoulidis and Alef Tukberg. I'm honored to present the 7th Max van der Stoel Award to you. This is the award. I'd like to congratulate you. We are extremely honored that you're with us here today. And a big applause for these two courageous founders and people who work on this. Thank you very much.